and we are here today. I'm sorry. Welcome once again, and we are here today. We're going to talk about identification. This is I think we're going to be doing identification next week too. But this one, yeah, this is part one. All right, and do you want to start, Amanda?
Yeah, I'll start. When we were looking at the identification process for our school, it kind of seems impressive because we have 7 tiers of required material that we had a really difficult time. I don't think we ever figured out all 7 of what they really were. But it's like interview, teacher recommendation, survey, portfolio, aptitude test, grade, and behavior.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Together we can do it.
Yeah.
But, we always compare gifted to special ed, but really in our school, I think there's a big divide. Yes, it falls under the umbrella. Like when they get the letter home, it says special education on the top because it's an individual plan.
Yeah.
But really, I don't think there's a cookie cutter approach here.
I don't think so. I don't think so either. I have one kid in my classroom, and I am utterly amazed that he's not in the gifted program right now. The kid is like so much higher than everybody else. In fact, you know him because he comes here with me. Yeah, Flynn, and well, actually, both him and Sophia, but Flynn, the kid's amazing, but yet he was overlooked when it came to gifted and talented last year. And it's amazed me that he was overlooked because the kid is like, it's amazing what he can do.
The process here is
well, you should have pretty intimate knowledge. You've dealt with it with 4 different kids, right?
I have 4 children that have gone through here, and 3 were tested, and 2 of them were rejected. They were tested because of the interview, which, of course, it's with adults, 3 adults. They've never 3 adults. You don't know. My oldest son was not only rejected because of the interview, but his kindergarten portfolio was missing because we had moved from Florida to Virginia, and they had a different testing process. Like we talked about before, there being inconsistencies across identification processes in the states. So that was what happened to us. He was missing those couple of things, and they asked me, well, give us a portfolio. I don't even know what that is. What are you looking for? And they said, well, no doubt he's a bright child, and we'll watch him. Well, that was the end of it. Then nobody went back and revisited the issue. He fell through. He was bored. He spent 3rd grade tutoring during class time, other children in his class, and I went to the school and asked again, retest him, because this is not right. And they did that, and then they said, oh, yeah, well, and the same thing, my oldest daughter rejected because of the interview, but the whole process stressed her out to the point where I said, maybe we won't do this.
Yeah.
And I'd already been through it.
And I know your oldest daughter.
Yes,
I student taught with your oldest daughter. She is very bright.
She's very bright. She has an exceptional aptitude for language.
Yes, she does.
If she hears something one time, she repeats it, and she can remember other languages. And there are a bunch of things. My 3rd child was tested. He was screened for kindergarten, and they took him then. And now my youngest, Abigail, I have not requested that she be tested because I haven't felt like they're really getting anything from it.
Yeah.
They're not really getting much, and I didn't see the point in putting her through that or going through it myself. There was not enough room there.
And I see that with my kids, like the ones that I had last year that went. I don't have any this year that are identified. And I didn't feel like they were getting anything out of it. I had kids not wanting to go because they had more fun in here than they would going. They don't want to go do the things that they were being asked to do because it wasn't enriching. And then I don't know if I've told you guys this yet, but my friend last year that I recommended, He was rejected for his interview, and his portfolio, they said, which I didn't collect any work for. So now I feel like that's kind of my fault. Like I should have collected more work for him. I saw him out in the garden for enrichment math. Magically, he's now gifted, but last year I was yelled at and told he wasn't. Then my 6th grade reader, who's not even in a reading group, he's reading Lemony Snicket's when we're meeting on it, is not gifted because he's not artistic. He doesn't care about it. He's so linear. He's so getting things done, and he's just very.
And that goes back to last week when we were talking about different types of giftedness, and that kid might not be gifted in he might not be able to think, but he's very logical. He can but because here this school is all about the garden.
Oh yeah.
The garden.
The garden. But he's not an artist. And I'm thinking about our background stereotypes. Stereotypically, that little gifted skinny kid is not an artist.
No, he's not. I can tell you personally.
Why are we looking at their art?
I can tell you personally, like I could barely do stick figures even now. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I probably was the only person in my class that would get like needs improvements and like bad grades in art.
I mean, this goes back to what we were talking about last week with gifted and special ed. I just think there needs to be a much better, and once we have a definition, or even a new word, like we need to not even say gifted anymore. It needs to be a different title. And once we get there, it's got to be more, because like with the IEPs, the kids, okay, he's got, he needs a pencil adapter.
They identify and address those specific needs. Right. With our gifted learners, we're not necessarily doing that. No. We're going, oh, they're gifted. Or
they're just cookie cutter. It's cookie cutter.
And it's what, we talked about before in class. Do they fit the program? Not does the program fit them. So my friend over here, but he's not a gardener. He's not an artist. He doesn't care about stuff like that. He's going to get nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, I do as much as I can. Sure. But I'm not.
No, you're not.
And so it makes me angry because I feel like I need help and we don't get any help.
Yeah. There's a huge problem with the squeaky wheels and perception of gifted learners. You see this a lot, is that they do tend to be more self-sufficient. Not all of them, of course, but when it comes to in the classwork, if they know the classwork and they do it, you think, oh, they'll be okay. They'll be okay. I need to focus on this child who is so far behind. And the gifted learner gets kind of not identified at all.
And I feel sorry for them because they're bored and they're sitting there like they've gotten their work done 15, 20 minutes before, like your lowest Lobe, who's sitting there like struggling to get through something where you're, then next thing you know that kid is so bored that he's jumping off walls, he's bouncing off walls.
And I guess for me too, like the biggest part about identifying is I feel like, yes, I don't feel like they're going to get everything they need.
Yeah.
But I think it is so important for college, for high school, for middle school, for the teacher they have next year, for me to say, this child is gifted, you need to enrich that person.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's important to get a label. Nobody would ever think twice if you had a kid that came in who had an IEP, or you felt needed an IEP, and you said, this is what they need to succeed. But with gifted, you're right. We're like, they'll be on.
You have to go through the process and everything.
Well, and the fact that we can only recommend people twice a year.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, can I only recommend a child study twice a year? Absolutely not.
No, you can
I can do it whenever I feel like it's a need.
Yeah.
And we can do that with our kids. So, I just, standardized process.
About what you were saying about the identification carrying through to later, that my husband and I were just talking about perhaps going back and requesting the identification, requesting testing for my older daughter and even perhaps for my youngest, because I see that now my oldest is in middle school and he's in the gifted math,
Right.
he's in the gifted English. He's in a different environment that he is a lot happier because, and these are his words, not mine, because the bad kids aren't in that class making noise and disrupting, and he actually has the teacher's attention, which is what he did not have before. He did not have the teacher's attention. And he's not one of those to act out. He'll just quietly sit there and just be. So now he's getting a taste of what it's like to actually be taught.
Right.
Whereas before he was kind of getting by on what he already knew, catching pieces of things he didn't already know, but then filling that in himself. So he's enjoying it a lot more. I'm wondering if we shouldn't go back and go back. Not for now, because I don't think they're
But
going
for
to get
later
anything
on, when they
now,
get to middle school.
for later.
Right, and I think, like, you know, like I said, I was a gifted learner, so gifted for us was in honors classes and things like that. And being with gifted peers really makes you work harder
Yes, it does.
sometimes because I'm a very competitive person.
Right.
Same here.
And my peers are very competitive peers. Brave, you know, sometimes it's a bad thing as how fast you can get work done. But, you know, as we got older, middle school, high school, it wasn't who could finish first, it's who had the best product.
Yeah.
And so them pushing me, and, you know, then your teacher's pushing you too, while before I said, oh, I think my gifted education failed because I think they kind of were, it was just honors or AP. Being with my peers did help me a lot. It pushes you.
I agree.
And so I think that's important when you're.
Because I mean, I know in the class, in the student teaching class, we had two kids in there that were like, they I don't even know why they were in fourth grade last year. They should have, but the one kid should have been like in fifth. He's good enough to be in fifth or sixth. The other one was probably good enough to be in fifth in himself. And they pushed each other to the limits because they were so competitive with each other.
And then you think about, like, when I went to college and I did my freshman 101 classes, I'm like, these people. When I was with all of, you know, the normative. And now I love being in the master's program because I feel like I'm with people who are on the same speed as me. But even in the end of my college, some of your classes, you're like, did you really ask that question? Did you really tell me that you thought, like, we learned this 2 semesters ago in this other class? So, you know, that's why I try to identify, you know, with that. And you said with your, and I love hearing that about your son because it makes me feel better about, like, pushing these kids to be identified.
Right. No, I think now that he's in middle school, it's made a difference. But they don't offer classes for social studies for gifted. And so in that class, I see the work that he's doing, and I'm like, oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry that you have to do that because it is so far below what he wants to do. And that's the thing, he wants more.
Yeah.
But the teacher can't keep up with him.
Of course. And he, unfortunately, for his teachers, I mean, they don't have a whole lot of time as it is to begin with for their own stuff, especially in this. But anyways, all right, we are going to go ahead and wrap it up right here, and we will be back next week for part 2 of identification, which I believe next week we're going to be talking about actually like what are we doing next week? Yeah, we're actually trying to identify. That's right. All right, see you later.